related, kind of the meetings, holding the meetings and stuff. So I have to start by acknowledging something a little unpleasant, so I apologize for folks. Been to more than one meeting with me, you know that I'm very open. I want everyone to participate fully. We don't really stand on formality. However, due to some unpleasantness that has happened with some of the Zoom participants, we have had to change our format in that I will have to unmute folks when you want to speak. So just raise your hand, happy to unmute folks. But I think you now have to ask for permission or such, so I apologize. I'm going to try to pay very close attention and do it as quickly as possible so we can keep the conversation flowing as organically as possible, but I do want to acknowledge that that is something that has changed. I think that's the settings for the meeting, anywho. And it really is unfortunate that I even have to say this in 2023, but any kind of hate will not be tolerated in this space. If you cannot be respectful of others, you will be removed from the meeting. No second chances, no, I will not tolerate a second of it. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So unfortunately, those are my welcoming remarks. I apologize that they're not more positive, but I do wanted to acknowledge that. So it says roll call, but this is 3 out of the 5 of us are here. Sergio did say he's probably going to be late. He hopes to make it. I did not hear from Rob.
And Oscar.
Oscar is no longer on the committee now that he's a chair. He's going to focus on his chair responsibilities. He's still welcome to hang out with us, but he's no longer formally a member. Especially that first year, it can be a little bit of a doozy catching up. And then there is no one who has asked me for or was given an extraordinary circumstance to participate, a committee member to participate by Zoom. As I said, I want everyone to be able to participate. So if you want to speak, please raise your hand so I can unmute you. And I want to acknowledge that Chair Reyes has joined us this evening as well.
Thank you, Julia. Have a good meeting.
Hold on, let me turn the volume up because I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, no, I just said thank you. I just said thank you and have a good meeting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, please.
Oh, can I ask?
Updating the attendance here to make sure what I have is accurate. I'm actually going to try to take meetings in real time or minutes in real time so that I can get them to you guys in a more timely fashion. So item number 3 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. I have not submitted the September minutes. I apologize because I didn't take them in the meeting. I have to go back and watch the meeting to make sure I didn't miss anything, to make sure they're accurate. I will get those to the office in about a week or so. But since we do have a quorum, is there any discussion of the May 2023 minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion. I second.
Is there any, is there anyone against approving the minutes? Okay, anyone abstaining from approving the minutes? All right, so the minutes pass, all the members present in favor. For the chair report, I don't have a ton here. I did remember something I forgot last time that I wanted to bring up, in that I'm a big believer in just because I've always done something away doesn't mean that's a good reason for it to stay that way. So we meet here because it has been, before COVID, I tried to move around to different community centers, and I have no problem doing that again. We've been meeting here because people have been a little more reluctant to host at one point. I'm not sure where we landed on that. And this, we know we're gonna have access to the internet and everything else, but if people would like to meet somewhere else, happy to explore that and figure out how to coordinate that with the office.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
What kind of tech support would you need in order to host a meeting?
I believe we would need
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi,
I
yeah.
think I could use my laptop, since I'm gonna be taking minutes anyway, to host the hybrid piece. I have a webcam, so we could use that as well. I think it would just be the Wi-Fi to make sure we could have those who wanna participate via Zoom able to. Wi-Fi?
What's MiFi? Oh, yeah, we have pretty great Wi-Fi. Yeah. And then we could do it, sorry, 'cause our security's pretty tight. So we could do it where just committee members are in person, right?
Yeah, we could announce that, that
Oh,
guests have to
okay.
be registered, so it just.
Oh, that would be great. Okay, so we could totally do that. Want to give me the date for the next committee meeting, and I'll check on it?
So our November meeting is right now scheduled for November 20th, which is the week of Thanksgiving. Want to just put that in the universe as well. And then if we need more time, our December meeting is scheduled for December 18th.
Let me put those both in. December 18th. Okay.
I also I've floated this idea a couple times. It's been generally thought of as a good idea, haven't really been able to execute it yet, happy to try again. Most other committees, I believe, have speakers come in and do kind of a presentation for some portion of the meeting. We have not done that as much since I've been here. I mean, sometimes folks who are in will talk about something they're doing and it's more informal, but if there's a topic that we would like to have a presenter for, I think one time that we did do it, we had the 50th Precinct youth officers talk about what they do and how they can work with the community centers, or if they're, sometimes we'll get emails, the board will get emails about a program that's trying to do something, and we can invite them if that's folks think would be a good use of this space in this time. And don't have to decide right now. If you hear of something, let me know. Happy to invite folks in and carve out time for that. I do try to limit that to more like 15 minutes with 5 minutes of questions, and letting people know that, because then it can go on. And we don't normally have a packed agenda, but it'll be the one week that we do that we'll have a presentation and it'll go for 35 minutes. And that is my chair report. Is there any questions about that? Okay. So, Sergio is not here, and he's the chair of the Veterans Committee, but he did give me a quick update on the Memorial Grove event that is planned for this year. For those of you who are not aware, every year, it's part of Van Cortlandt Park. There's an actual grove of trees that have plaques associated with them that honor service people from our area who have served mostly in, I believe, World War I, II, and Vietnam. I couldn't swear to that, don't quote me. Every year for around Veterans Day, they do an event where there's the color guard, and they read the names of those who are in the grove, and they have different veterans groups come and join us. This year, it is scheduled for November 5th, which is a Sunday. I believe it's scheduled to start about noon. I asked, if he needed, if there was anything we could support with. He said if we could show up, that would be great support. I believe he has volunteers for cleaning the grove and getting it ready. I think the Boy Scouts are gonna come and help with that. And then he usually has color guards from the local schools who will do that ceremonial piece. And I believe they usually also like participate in reading the names and such. It's a nice event. It's nicer when it's not pouring rain like it was that one year, but, if you're able to come, please join us, but if you can't, we understand, and we'll try to figure out, we should, if there's a space for us next year, if we want to continue to do that, or if we just want to, as individual members, to go and support. Okay, let me update you.
Ask a silly newbie question.
As a child of educators, feel compelled to say there's no such thing as a silly question.
When you say, like, I love when we come together and support things, is there something, that signifies that we're community board members, like a name tag or a T-shirt or a pin or anything? Or is that something we would write on a name tag if we went somewhere? Or, I'll give an example of, it was so nice, not this Sunday, but last Sunday, so many people, we came to the monument to support Israel, and I saw so many people from the community board that I like knew them as people, but I thought it would have been nice to, like, other people didn't know that, but we had, like, so many of our local officials were there, and they like, it was clear, because they were the ones with, like, the muscle, but, I was just a thought of mine, like, I was like, wow, this community board really came out to support, but.
So my instinct is that we could probably try to do something within the budget. I mean, a lot of things are budgetarily.
Oh, but it's not, no, I'm not asking for anything, I just didn't know if it existed already.
Not to my knowledge. I think it's also, full transparency, I think it depends on whether you're there as a community board member, as a community member, because sometimes that gets to be a little bit of a gray area, but, that's been my experience too, like at Memorial Grove, I just know the other people I spend 3 hours with at least a month in a room, so I recognize them by face, but it's not like we have T-shirts that I'm aware of. I know it's been discussed a couple times, but I also know that, with the budget, you have to have a specific line item that corresponds to you being able to spend on that. But we could talk about at least, maybe getting the disposable name tags that we can put our, maybe the logo or something on, we can talk to, Chair Reyes, do you have thoughts, I'm sorry, I'm like, where's the microphone?
Yes.
Do you have a more
Yes.
concrete answer on that?
Thank you. I was trying to raise my hand. Thanks for calling. In regards to the budget, we can't spend money on ourselves for ourselves for T-shirts or anything like that. We do have, they're not the best, but little tags, name tags that we had before we had the name plates for the desk. But it's something that we could look into see. Again, there's a proprietary lease for the logo, like to show that you're from the board, we would definitely need approval. So that's something that we could look into in regards to T-shirts or something like that.
Sorry, it wasn't necessarily a request, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. Thank you.
No, I don't believe something currently exists.
I agree with you. I think it would be good, especially if we're out there, but we definitely have to look into it because we can't just slap on, like the borough president's logo or the city logo with the community board. So we'd have to be careful with that. Something to look into, like how can we identify, like hopefully some people will be joining Sergio. There's a parade that he wants board members to be part of. I think it's in about a week or two. And it would be nice if we had something to identify ourselves as board members. But that's something we definitely would have to look into. I think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns around this? There was a piece of old business from last month that's been circling around my brain, so I wanted to bring it back up. And then I'll open the floor to others who may have old business of the kind of community calendar and how we could get that going. I think to kind of get a flavor of how labor intensive it's going to be, I would ask, and I can ask that the office puts this in an email blast, that folks send me their events, just so I get a sense of the volume of events that we have and how quickly they change. And since we are now in the middle of the month, I'll ask that the office send out an email on my behalf asking for events by Monday, so I can, again, get a sense of how big a project this would be and how feasible it would be to get it out for November.
Julia, would it be helpful, do you think, have you ever worked with Google Forms before? I wonder if we made like a Google form and then it downloads it into a sheet, or it would like be just easier to pull that information, I wonder? If it makes it less labor intensive. But again, it's all about like what works for you or what works for the person doing it, which could also, I'm happy to see what I can lend a hand with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what I'm trying to gauge as well, is just kind of like how many events are we really going to try to calendar? What is the best way to get that information? Because there's a lot of information, I think, that makes sense. It'll be a little more labor intensive on the back end, like putting it onto a calendar, but that's not the end of the world, especially because if it's on a form, then you can sort it by date and you'll have it all there. But if it's only one event per organization, or, 20 events over the 20 days, that's not as heavy a list as if we have the events over the month. That, that's part of what I'm trying to just get a feel for. So I think the first round, I'm just gonna say, email it to me and let me see what we're dealing with. And then based on how many events and how, life happens, things will change, events will get rained out or postponed or scheduled, how much of that happens. Kind of, again, figure out best way to streamline it once we kind of have a better sense of what we're dealing with. Thoughts on that? About it?
Wondering, and I don't know if this is logistically feasible because I know that we're technically not city workers, but we're under the umbrella, sort of all of the rules and regulations of the city. But I wonder if there's space to maybe have some kind of like student intern or something. I have plenty of students who are desperate for internship opportunities because we give credit for them, but I don't know the logistics of what that would mean here. I'm sure that's a Julie and Farah question, but I just put it out there because it seems like a project that a student could do.
You're so far, I can't see who that, is that Jillian? I can't see who's speaking.
Jillian?
Yes, Jillian.
Okay, Jillian, I will be calling you tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Julie.
Early childhood, and I'm like, tell me about these students who can do work. Like, I don't have any of those.
No, eventually they can, but.
I'm like, tell me more. This is a new world. Can they tie their shoes?
No. I'll tell you more later, but yeah, they will.
Any other thoughts on the youth calendar project? I'm watching this. Okay, any other old business? Anything I was supposed to follow up on, supposed to report to you guys back on, that I would get an answer for you and you haven't heard anything from me? Me accountable, because I forget things, especially I had COVID again, so my brain kind of still feels a little bit like mush. So it's entirely possible, like the minutes, that I've forgotten something. So don't hesitate to hold me accountable.
Do we have an update for if we want to meet with aging? Let's talk of the joint meeting.
Yeah, I had to circle back with Oscar, wanted to let him get his feet under him again, you know, his first meeting, and get him in touch with that committee first before we resurface it. I'm thinking proposing like a December meeting so that we can, if they're on board, we can bring it back to our respective committees in November, and then to a joint meeting in December. Also, just as an FYI, we almost never have a January meeting unless there's something very, very pressing, because,
Oh, Julie's raising her hand.
yes, Julie?
Hi, Julia. I was just curious, has your committee, like defined what it is that you guys want to look at throughout the term? Any special subject matters or topics?
Sorry, Julie, you cut out there at the end. Have we discussed,
Like any certain topics throughout the term or issues that your committee is interested in?
we have not. Usually I let it be driven by the community centers and what they need from us and their support. But we can put it on the agenda for next month to have kind of a goal setting or priority setting meeting for November.
Right, because the board
We could
will
try to
then be
do it.
able, the board will be able to assist in getting you speakers. Like if you have any special issues that you're targeting through the term, we can look for speakers in regards to that. To set the agenda, just like for a few months.
Okay, so let's, I'm making a note to myself, I'm putting it in the minutes to put that on for next month so that people have a chance to kind of think about it and get some ideas together, and that we can get it out to the community centers as well, so that everyone can participate in kind of setting our goals or priorities for the year, and then figuring out how we meet those, moving forward. Any other, I guess we'll do, for one, any other old or new business, anything that, folks would like to bring to our attention, areas where you guys need support, areas of improvement for us, general good news and what are kind of sad and depressing days recently? I mean, that's the official end of my agenda, so if nobody has anything else, I'm happy to adjourn the meeting. I'll sit here and type for a second just to make sure. We don't normally have a January meeting because the third Monday is Martin Luther King Day, and the calendar's a little tight, so if there's not something we have to meet on, we usually just skip January just for full disclosure. All right. I'm gonna call the meeting adjourned at 7:57 this evening. As always, thank you all for taking time out of your days to spend with me and do this work, and if anything happens in between meetings, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to be helpful where I can.
Thank
Good
you.
evening,
Have a
folks.
good evening. Have a good evening.
Night.
Something for you.
In the waiting room, they never actually got here. Sorry.
They just showed